I had received questions regarding the subject of experiences during spiritual awakening. Now, the experience of a non dual awakening is not truly an experience. It is difficult to verbalize this or explain it conceptually because when the non duality ceases, it marks the end of individual existence. What that really means is that you operate in your daily living with the sense, with the complete sense that the separation is only in appearances, but what is happening behind all separation, behind all the multiplicity, is one single unicity. Now, what happens in other spiritual traditions is that the seekers explain their experiences. They may have a experience, say, like an out of body experience, or an experience where they have experienced visions of divine gods and goddesses, giving them different messages, showing them different aspects of themselves. For example, people who go for ayahuasca and all those places where they facilitate all this, so they get visions of the goddess mother, and then that helps in self discovery and self knowledge, and it brings about a certain change in the aspects of individuals. But you see, the experience of non duality is, it can be quite daunting initially, because all of a sudden you don't see a limitation to yourself, you don't see a boundary to yourself. So what you essentially become in the non-dual experience is that you just merge. Now I'm using the word merge, but it is not exactly merge as we imagine in duality, because there's nothing to merge into. It's like you're looking at something and slowly you become that. So think of it like this, that that you are a that you're a part of a concentrated energy which is concentrated at one single point, localized at one single point, and all of a sudden you find that energy loosening, and then you expand into the vast infinity and you become that. Now, of course, this is just a conceptual explanation. It is not exactly like this. As I said, it is difficult to explain this in words. But you see, even Nisargadatta Maharaj said that whatever you see in your experiences, no matter how blissful they are, you may see visions of Buddha, Christ, you may see visions of Krishna, you may see anybody, any form. But the reality is that you are not any of those, because whatever comes will eventually go. So the moment of ecstasy and bliss that you experience, they eventually go, they eventually dissolve. You are not that. What you are is the background, the space which is holding this entire thing. So you are the pure consciousness where all the experiences are happening. And when Ramana Maharishi's disciple, Papaji, he went to Ramana Maharishi and he said that I see Krishna, I play with Krishna. So Ramana said, okay, that's very good, very nice. Then Papaji asked Bhagwan, how do I make this permanent? I want Krishna to be with me all the time. And to which Bhagwan said that whatever comes and goes is not the truth. And that was a turning point in Papaji's life. For then he did not feel the need to chase any experiences. Now, I'm not trying to diminish your experiences and vision that you had. If you saw Christ, if you saw Krishna in your experiences, then of course that means something. And it can have a life transforming effect on many people. But at the same time, I would also say this, that clinging on to experiences, the ego can find an extension, because ego wants to chase the experience and wants more and more experience. So this may happen that you get tied up with the experiences and the bliss, and nothing is permanent here. So the non-dual message is simply this, that it is the unicity which is appearing as the multiplicity, and in the multiplicity there will always be duality in everything. And acceptance of that is the true realization. So, experiences by themselves do not matter as much as the space, the infinite space that is holding and creating this, animating this entire thing. Because no matter how blissful your experience is, it is nothing that you have never experienced before. All the bliss that you experience during a spiritual awakening, any kind of spiritual awakening, you have already experienced that. So that is why you are able to describe it in form. But non dual experience, you will never be able to describe it in words. And that is where things take a turn, because one doesn't even feel the need to describe a non-dual experience, because there is nothing, nobody to describe anything. So non-dual awakening means that nobody really awakens. You awaken to your own non-existence and you see everything as happening. So the illusory character that you identify as me still continues in the world. It still may go on with its story of experiences, bliss, sorrows, happiness, this, that. But it is all in the light of awareness, a substratum which never leaves. And then it is understood that consciousness is all there is. So, when Advaita masters say that consciousness is all there is, what that really means is that once that is understood in totality, then there is no scope of any questions to arise after that. Because there is no questioner, there is no one to question anything. If a question arises, if some labeling arises, if the analysis come up, then that means there is still a subject which is trying to chase a state and trying to make that state permanent. And sometimes that becomes our suffering. A majority of spiritual seekers have this idea that spirituality will give them something which will take away their pain and suffering. What they fail to realize is that the pain and suffering that they experience is a part of the conceptual thought me. The root of it is all me. And it is the nature of me to bring attention to itself. So, me is not really interested in solving any problem, it is not really interested in knowing the truth. The me, the ego, operates with its own agenda, and its agenda is to continue to expand. So while it will, say things like that, it will talk about peace, love, equanimity, brotherhood, but the actions will precisely be opposite. And that is where the great contradiction is. That is what Jiddu Krishnamurti describes as the measure between, as the gap, the separation between the conceptual and the actual. So, in the end, in the non-dual awakening, the me wakes up to its non-existence. So there is no point in chasing any any state, trying to attain any permanent state, or even trying to re-experience anything, because then the mind itself becomes peaceful, the mind becomes still, knowing that it is not in control. It is the non-duality which seizes the individual, which awakens the individual, and it's not the other way around.